All right, y'all. Welcome to another episode of Mornings with Movers. Sorry we are late, but we was technology. Technology was not being our friend. Um, again, thank you for joining us. Obviously, I know I'm Dwight Mack with Max Moving Training. We got Gregory Gray in the building today with Graceful Moves. So,
Hey,
Greg has been killing it over where he's at, and I don't want to mess up his story, so I'm gonna let him tell his backstory.
Need a last minute fill in or facing an unexpected injury among your moving staff? No worries, Moving Force has you covered. Our app instantly connects you with trusted, professional movers who are ready to step in and handle urgent jobs whenever you need them. With our reliable network of vetted experts, you'll never be left shorthanded. What are you waiting for? Download the app now and sign up for free now. Your stress-free move is just a tap away.
What's going on, Greg?
what's the deal, bro? Um, yeah, so what do just my backstory as far as how we got into I got into the industry or
Yeah, how you been crushing it so well?
yeah. Um, so we've so first I'll tell you how I got into the industry. Um, so we started the company back in 2015 and we originally, I originally wanted to get into the industry actually, bro, because of ministry purposes, man. I was in Bible college and so I thought it was a good opportunity to come into the industry or come into the moving industry and provide jobs for actually for guys that's getting out of prison, right? So I started prison ministry just kind of due to my background. I was drawn to prison ministry, and but man, after obviously, I started on the trucks, going into customers' homes, seeing how important customer service and all that stuff is. I didn't see it. I didn't see an easy fit. Obviously, guys transitioning out of prison, they don't come out as prepared, right? So,
Hmm.
then obviously customers, finding out that guys is fresh out of prison is coming to their homes wasn't the best idea. So I tried it like maybe once or twice with a couple guys, and I seen that I was a little over my head, and so I took a different route. However, um, man, I just focused really hard on customer service, right? I seen that there was a gap, in our industry. Most moving companies around the area. My area is probably the same thing throughout the nation, but most moving companies, they sucked in that area, right? With customer service, and so I just seen, hey, if I just simply tell customers what I'm gonna do exactly what I say, and crush it on with customer service on a very high level, then I'll do well. And it sounds simple, super simple, but that's really all I did, bro. Like, I would go into customers' homes, and I used to think like, I wanted to be the Chick-fil-A of moving companies. That was the idea that in my mind, you know what I mean? And so, in what ways can I maximize customer service? Like go the extra mile. And I did that. I did that really well. And because I started this prison ministry, it connected me with, obviously I couldn't work with the idea with the prisoners didn't work, right? Our ex-prisoners, right? But it connected me with a lot of guys that was in the church though, you know what I mean? And so the first employee I had was a brother from my church. He came in and he had the same mentality, same mindset, just high level customer service. And bro, I just started building systems and processes that where I can constantly, duplicate that high level customer service with any or any mover that come in. And man, it's really that simple, bro. I didn't know much about marketing. I didn't know much about SEO, AdWords, none of that stuff. We just did a really good job on moves, and they just people begin to tell other people, and we started growing from there.
Yeah, word of mouth is definitely key. If you do good business, at the end of the day, like you said, it'll exceed your normal marketing that you pay for
Yeah,
because people are just like, you know what? Hey, I'm going to refer them. I'm going to refer
no
them.
doubt.
And one ironic story was this lady, obviously, how you share your business page on Facebook or so like that.
Yeah,
And this customer we did a really, really amazing job for decided to provide us a review. So I posted a review on our Facebook page so that our audience can see the review. And like the customer who we just literally serviced,
yeah,
commented on it and said, yeah, they were really great. And she actually, shared it with her people. and I didn't even know she was following us on Facebook.
Yeah, yeah, wow.
So that was kind of like, oh wow, okay, I thought we were doing something good. Maybe we were too small to be in the her radius, and she was just like, no, I'm following them on Facebook. I'm checking their Google reviews out, and I was just
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
wow. So.
yeah,
Even till when we closed the door, like a year after we closed the door, I'm still getting personal calls on my cell phone, like, "Hey, are you still doing moves?" And I'm like, "No," and I'm like, "Geez."
yeah,
So a lot of people were kind of like when I end up going out, a lot of people were like my phone, why you like my phones are still ringing and stuff like that, and they're like, "Oh, geez, why would you, and et cetera." And I'm just like, you know what? It is what it is at this point.
Man, when guys call me all the time asking, guys who either just getting started, or what have you, but bro, it's when it comes to this moving industry, bro, like it's somebody told me a long time ago, most of your competitors, they're gonna do if you're trying to get known, right? You want to dominate your market. Most of your competitors are gonna do it for you because again, unfortunately, it's not a lot of great moving companies that's just that do what they say. You know what I mean? It's
Hmm.
just not. And so it's as simplified as it may sound, bro. Yeah, just simply you just doing a really, really good job on moves. You know what I mean? I know that's not our topic, but if there was anybody interested in getting into the industry, you know what I mean, and or anybody that's getting started, man, if you can do everything right, but if you're doing that wrong, it doesn't even matter, right? I know of a moving company in my market. Um, they were bona fide. They had a lot of money backing them. I'll put it like that. They had a lot of money backing them when they came into the industry, and so they was able to pump a lot of money into marketing.
Hmm.
And so guys who left their company and came to me, they would tell me how many leads they would get. Like they had leads just flowing in, and we didn't have that. And but that company was just like just trash. They sent any type of, I'm just being real, right? They sent any type of mover out there, you know what I mean? That, they had no systems and processes as it relates to what they do. They hire day laborers, like all type of stuff, which, if that's your model, that's your model. But these guys that go out there, they representing us, right? They're representing your brand.
Last minute crisis? We've got you covered. When your moving staff is short, Moving Force steps in. Instantly connect with a network of trusted movers ready to handle the job. Fast sign-ups, trusted network, reliable solutions. Don't let last minute issues slow you down. Help is just a tap away. Download the app and sign up for free today.
These guys, this company eventually had like multiple cases stacked up against them from theft and all other type of stuff. And we thought at the time that they were dominating because again, they had a lot of moves, a lot of trucks, but slowly but surely they began to fizzle out, it's one of those things where, a lot of money, a lot of marketing, all that stuff, it may get you there, bro, but it's not gonna keep you there. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
It's a phenomenal customer service, is making every customer feel special. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, like, what's your purpose? What did you get into the industry for? You know what I mean? Like, I got into the industry. I don't want to be regular. I don't want to be average. I want to stand out. And one of the easiest ways to do that, is the basics, right? Yeah, you do what you say. Do a really good job.
Hmm. Yeah, no, that's exactly. And again, knowing your why is the whole purpose behind everything you do. If you don't have a why you get into business, and some people don't even know their why. Some people don't even know a why exists. They're
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like, hey, I just want to get into business. And maybe they're like, oh, because I want to make more money.
yeah,
Or, I just don't want to work a 9 to 5. And that's not necessarily strong enough, because when obviously this is a tough industry. So
yeah.
whether you're dealing with compliance stuff, if you're a legitimate mover, and if you're dealing with compliance stuff, that's a headache by itself.
Mhm. 100%.
And now we're talking about insurance, getting insurance. We're talking about getting your local license. We're talking about making sure your drivers are, up to par with their
Mhm.
driver logs and physicals and stuff like that. This is a lot of stuff on the back end that people are just overlooking.
Yes.
And then now you got to produce a great result out of that with your customers. And then you got to hope that you guys don't get any claims, or if you have to resolve those claims properly.
Hey everybody, my name is Dwight Mack with Max Moving Training. So we're going to be doing a move and a pack today. But before we go in, there's just 10 basic rules that we just need to know before participating with this service. So number one, understand moving is a very, very stressful thing. The customer, they're uplifting their life from one location to another. They're having to call all these vendors and get all these suppliers in place so that basically they can make that transition. So their stress level is at the highest right now. We need to be a service provider that comes in and basically keep that stress level mitigated or very low. Come in as professionals and do our job the way we know how to do our job so that this customer is less stress during that move process. Number two, be on time. First impression is everything. You guys showing up outside of the window rubs the customer the wrong way. It messes up the rest of the move process. Even if you guys do the best job y'all can do, because one thing was off, this customer's mood is just off. Go up and beyond, be there before the time, as long as they're okay with it.
So yes, you can make millions of dollars in this industry. But if you're not dialed in with the systems and the processes, or your why isn't strong enough, every day you're going to want to quit. And I want to quit at least once a year. But
Straight up, straight up. I would even say, you know, your why is progressive. You know what I'm saying? When you first start, and I say that because I don't know who your listeners are. And I don't want, when I first heard that, I'm a big ET fan, Eric Thomas, right? And
hmm
he big on that, bro. Like, you got to know your why. And that's me, bro. I'm a big purpose guy. Like, what's my purpose? Maximize, fulfilling my purpose and all that type of stuff. And so, but you can get caught up, right, on I guess, wanting to make sure your why is strong enough, or so-called getting it dialed in, right? You need a why to get started. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people may disagree with me on this, but you need a why to get started. Because here's the thing: as you grow, as you change, as you personally develop, bro, your why is gonna grow. Your why is gonna change. It's gonna become more clear over time. That's why I say your why is progressive. You know what I mean? I've heard guys, so-called give me their why when they're starting, in the moving industry or even other companies. And you know, it's like you said, if it's money, whatever it is, it's like if it's not growing, if your why isn't progressing, which more than likely it's not, if you're not personally self-developing, your why is not going to grow or change and get bigger. But if your why is not progressing, then yeah, you'll fizzle out. I mean, if it's just a money thing, again, it's enough to get you started. It's not enough to keep you there.
Definitely. And hey, y'all that's tuning in, definitely share your why in the comments and so like that, so that obviously we can, all of our listeners and everybody else that's kind of tuning in can kind of get a feel for what it really means to really be in business. So definitely share it, so that we could definitely talk about it. And then so let's see. So originally I was going to talk about um 7 steps to getting more out of your day, but this why topic was actually pretty interesting. But yeah, I guess what is some tips that you would say, Greg, that would get your day, be very, how you call it, efficient with your day?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Man, bro. Yeah, so again, I'm a big self-development guy, right? So I'm not your ad like I don't, I'm gonna answer your question, but I think it's so first of all, I think your day starts the day before. You know what I mean? Your day starts the day before. So how do you prepare for today? So one thing that I do right now, so I journal every morning, right? And a part of that journal, and big ups to Sean Crane. Sean Crane, uh, personal development, a personal development platform called, or group rather. It's called Unstoppable 365. But Sean Crane has this dope journal, and in the journal, a part of your journal in the morning is to kind of write out what the goal, what your plan is that day, right? But it's also to write out, what type of attitude and mindset you need to have that day, and how that attitude and mindset will affect the people in your circle, right? So I like it because, in the morning you leave every morning, because I do mine, early in the morning, right? And you leave and you leave in the morning with the right perspective, right mindset, right? So for me, I have 6 kids, I'm married, I have a team, Graceful Moves that I have to take care of and tend to. And so I have them front of mind, like, my attitude and my efforts is going to affect them. So I journal about that. What type of attitude do I have to have? And then I write out, my to-dos, right? At the end of that day, I go back and journal again, grading how I did that day, right? Grading how I did that day. And then I'll simply write out what I need to do the next day. So when I wake up that morning, the first thing I'm doing is, looking at that journal, right? Kind of seeing the things I need to do. And again, I'm not trying to, preach to anybody, but, I look at that journal and then I pray. You know what I mean? I go into prayer. One would say, why don't you pray first? Bro, if I prayed, when I wake up, I feel like I'm not giving the Lord my all, bro. I'm halfway awake. I'm going to sleep while I'm praying. So yeah, I look at that. I pray. And then for me, I do cold plunges, right? So I do my morning routine is crazy. You know what I mean? I don't want nobody feeling like, damn, I gotta do all of that. It's crazy. You feel me? But yeah, I do my cold plunge. And then I do my cold plunge and I do a little bit of reading. So right now I'm reading 20 pages a day. So I do like 10 pages earlier in the day in the morning, and then I do 10 pages later, right? So I'll jump in a cold plunge, and then I do my reading. And again, the reason why I do my cold plunge first is simply because if I go right into reading, I fall back to sleep. You know what I'm saying? I do my cold plunge, bro. Then I do my reading and I head to the gym. That is honestly, that's after I get done with the gym, then I'm ready for the day. Honestly, I don't know how many things that is, but once I do those things, bro, I'm ready to kill the day. You know what I mean? And whatever's on my to-do list, I focus on that. And I'm going through a book right now. It's my second time going through it. It's a book called The One Thing. If anyone, I don't know if you guys read that book before.
I haven't, but you're about to make me write it down.
Look at The One Thing. I'm not kidding. As an entrepreneur, that book is phenomenal. It's a must-have because basically the idea behind the book is to focus on one thing. As entrepreneurs, we're always, we get distracted by, the shiny objects, right? The next business idea, the next, the new thing we can do in the company to bring in more revenue or whatever the case may be. And or we got this idea that, if we multitask, we can get a lot of stuff done, right? When truth be told, if you chase 2 rabbits, you won't catch none, right? Multitasking is a myth. And again, argue with me, maybe everybody won't agree, but I'm telling you, I've seen it to where I've tried to do multiple things at one time, thinking I'm getting a lot done. And then before you know it, either one, you don't get anything done, or two, you prolong the process, right? And usually we do that because we got this idea that we got to get it. We want to do a lot right now. We got to get everything done right now, right? Or we'll be behind. So anyway, this book is teaching me to just focus on one thing, bro. Like, whatever it is. So after I get back from the gym between 8 a.m. and 12, it's hard to do this because if your team is not on board with you, like you'll still get interrupted and all that stuff. But those 4 hours, right, between 8 and 12, I'm focusing on my one thing, whatever it is, rather that be pushing out content, you know what I mean? Rather that be, reaching out to 3 to 5 realtors, whatever, or rather that be building out systems and processes. But I've done that. I just started that, if I'm honest, like towards the end of December. I'm not kidding. I've gotten way more done, from December to this point than, I'm not playing, bro, than I probably did all year last year.
Yeah.
And it's so fulfilling because I'm completing everything. And so anyway,
Yeah, I was gonna pause you right there. So I'm gonna recap what I heard. So I'm gonna say that the man got, he's getting up, he's journaling, he's praying, he's cold plunging, he's reading 10 pages, he's going to the gym. What time are you getting up?
yeah, so I try to be up between 4 and 4:30.
All right. So
Yeah,
yeah. So that would make sense. I was like, geez, he's doing a whole lot of
yeah.
moving in the morning.
Bro,
Um,
it's guys out there that's doing, man, it's guys out there that's doing way more, bro. Like sometimes I feel like I'm not doing enough, honestly. And don't get me wrong, bro. Like I'm not as consistent with that as I'd like to be, but I'm at least getting in like that at least 4 to 5 times a week for sure.
okay. Ryan, we finally got a hold of you. How's
Yeah,
everything
guys.
been?
Good, man. Sorry, we're stuck on the plane for a little bit here, but finally made it to Atlanta. And Greg, it's good to see you, man. Love everything you're saying.
Yeah, bro.
And what Greg is doing. I mean, there's a lot of folks out there that are doing it and crushing it like this, and it absolutely works, man. And what I will piggyback on what Greg did say about the multitasking piece is, I was one that thought I could go ahead and do 1,000 tasks in a day and crush every single one. And I did. I crushed a lot of tasks, but I didn't truly execute them the way they should have been done. And I am not a believer in multitasking at all. I pick one thing, check the box on it, then go on to number two, number three, or what have you. And actually, there's a pretty cool study Harvard did many years ago about this, about the multitasking and how many people think they can do so many things in a particular day and think they do them well. They're wrong. So love everything you're
100%.
saying about that, Greg, man. Absolutely.
Yeah. So basically everything goes back to block time. Is basically what they're hinting on, and making sure that you really are dialed in with a combination of your personal life as well as your business life. Um, we were talking about before you hopped on, Ryan, the why, and we was wanting people to share. So if you don't mind sharing, why did you get into doing your own thing as far as running your own sub shop?
That's a great question. Um, why did I do that? Honestly, I don't, I was bored. I was bored looking for a challenge. Everything kind of happened in my life kind of all at once, right? I left the moving industry. Supermove came out of left field. I purchased this building. Our son got diagnosed with cancer. Like everything literally just kind of hit, when I say all at once, in a matter of 3 days. So from the time I left the organization I'd been with for 12 plus years, to the time that I joined Supermove, to the time I bought a building, to the time my son was diagnosed again, was all in 3 days. Um, a lot was going on, right? And I guess I don't necessarily have a why for the sub shop piece. But I guess no. I mean, my wife was getting really tired of her job. Had a really good career. Was tired of mandatory overtimes. The company went from knowing her as an individual to her being a number, like a lot of your corporate organizations. Kind of that transition when you get bought out 2, 3, 4, 5 times over the course of 15 years. So really was trying to build something for her, and something for him and his buddies to have something kind of to work in, to learn entrepreneurship at an earlier age. Um, you know, I would say it's the ultimate why. Obviously, is the family, right? I mean, everything I do is for them, and I got to do a better job of that because obviously with all the traveling, my hands are a million different things. Um, I got to start prioritizing more of the family piece, blocking out more time, as we talked a couple weeks ago, Dwight, about blocking out more family time, taking more vacations. The problem is when your life feels like a vacation, taking vacation almost seems like work, right? So, a lot of improvements on my end.
Yeah, I admire, and hey, we're all always having free, open conversations. So I admire everything that you do from the traveling standpoint, and being able to just, obviously I know it's part of work and stuff like that. But, and that's always been like for me a dream to like just travel different places. But then I also see the other side of it as well, where like, they say, like me, obviously me being a new dad or whatever the case is, they say, hey, the most important part is the first year of your baby's development, is that you being around, being in the picture and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, geez, but I kind of want to travel. But then at the same token, it's like if you're missing like their first steps, or you're missing this and you're missing that, it's like you kind of got to make that sacrifice where it's like, hey, okay, what is more important? You know, like is it the money or is it the personal ambitions or goals, or is it just kind of like, can you find a happy median?
You know, I would tell you this from I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing now if I was in your shoes. And I can back this up to just even a couple of years ago when I started kind of the travel journey of, being up in the air. I don't know how many times a week, how many flights you do. I don't even keep track anymore. But yeah, there's no way I would have been able to be present for the family, handle my job, do all the, like, timing was everything for me. Like I said, my son's a freshman in high school at this point, super independent. My wife doesn't have her particular job that she had to report to every single day. She creates her own hours, so it just, everything, everything kind of fell in place. And I would say if you've got the little one there, you're going to want to be there, right? You got to support wifey. You're going to want to be there for the first steps, the first dot, goo, goo, all that shit, I look back now and I missed a lot of that, right? Because I was working 100 plus hours a week in a finance piece. Like I missed weekends. I missed birthday parties. I missed a ton of things that I cannot get back. 100%. And I'll never be able to get that back. But at least now, like now is my time to try to recoup all that. So I'm taking all the trips with the family. In Christmas time, I think you saw on Facebook there, but like, I don't buy the bullshit Christmas presents anymore. We're getting on a plane and we're going somewhere. We're creating magical memories. I'm not buying the socks, the Jordan. No, I'm not buying that junk. Right? We're taking trips and we're creating memories, and not just with my son and my wife. I'm bringing my parents. I'm bringing my brother. Like we're all doing this. And
That's the way to go.
yeah, just super fortunate to be able to do this at this time as I'm still young. At least I feel like I'm still young. Sometimes travel wears on you a little bit, but man, I just keep doing what you're doing, Dwight. I pause on the travels as much as you can, as long as you can, so you can take care of the little one and be there for every ounce of it. You'll know when the timing's right. It'll hit you up one day, and you'll be like, okay, I can do this now. Like, at least for me, it just kind of magically appeared, and I'm like, shit, I can do this. I'm like, all right, see you guys, I'm out.
So what? Go ahead, Greg.
No, I just wanted to add my piece to that. One of the benefits, and it all depends on how you go about doing this, but I think one thing we did well in my house is we made it very clear at the beginning of Graceful Moves that for us, it would always be God's family business, right? God's family business. We made it very clear. And sometimes what that meant, you're gonna have to, like, I see a lot of single guys, right? In this industry, and they able to do so much that I couldn't do and I can't do, because they have that freedom. You know what I mean? But there is if your family is seeing that you've prioritized them in the moments and times that really matter, because you're not going to make everything. You're not going you just can't, right? But if you're making the basketball games, the baseball games, right, as much as you can, you know what I mean? You're not going to make everything, right? The presentations that they have at school, like all those different things. I think it gives room, right, for you to go and take, and then you made it clear to them that it's, this business, this company that we're doing, is not just daddy, right? It's us. We all do it. It's our thing. We all do it together, and not just talk about it, but even do little things. Like when I first started, I would let, like, my kids, bro, like they would come out and they would come with me to drop flyers. You know what I mean? They would, if it was a repair I had to do at a customer's house, I would bring my sons with me sometimes. I just did little things to make it clear to them that they're part of this. You know what I mean? That we're all one team. And I think I just feel like my kids, my family understands a lot more when daddy has to go take care of business, because I made it our thing. You know what I mean? Not just this is daddy and, using it as a reason or excuse to just to always be away. And honestly, I feel like that's an area we did really well at. And if I spoke to a lot of entrepreneurs, bro. As a matter of fact, the first ex-moving company owner I spoke to, I'm like, I started my company. I'm like, bro, if you got any advice for me, what will it be? He was like, are you married? I'm like, yeah. He was like, well, you're not gonna be. I'm like, damn, like, what do you mean? Like, that's crazy. But he was like, that was his experience, right? His company ultimately caused his decisions in his company ultimately caused his divorce in his previous, obviously from his previous marriage. But what that did for me is it didn't scare me. What it told me, like, you know what? I need to sit my family down and say, hey, you guys, for us, it's gonna be God. It's gonna be family, then us, then it's gonna be business, right? And we just made those things important. And again, not to, you know, go on about this, but doing as much as you can with your family, making it clear to them that this is not just daddy's thing. It's not just me, out there taking care of business for no reason or whatever the case may be. Like, this is our thing, all of us, right? And include your kids, your wife, include them as much as you can. And see, I have a big family. The best, my wife, not only do I have a big family, but my wife homeschools, right? And so, and that's 6 kids that she homeschools. Well,
Ooh,
one of them is 2 years
damn.
old, and so yeah, we got a real interesting situation. However, I would say because of that reason, my wife has to be with the kids, right? But as much as I can, any opportunity I get to pull her away, and we take a trip for the company, or we go to company events, rather that be retreats or whatever, tighten up retreat or different things like that. Try to have my wife with me. You know what I mean? And anyway, if that was a topic or anything anybody's struggling with, bro, include your family as much as you can, wife, kids, everybody, and that'll give room for you to go take care of business more. And they'll understand. They'll get it because they know what it's like because they're with you.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. I unfortunately lost my first relationship due to, me being in the business and my mind focused on trying to grow the business as much as possible. And it's just like every single topic was about business. It wasn't about, romance or how I feel about her or whatever the case was. It was just like, so you know what we did today? So
Yeah.
I actually did this and blah 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 blah. And it was like, can we talk about anything but business? I'm like, but that was my day. I don't have nothing else to say, and it kind of like was the demise of my relationship or whatever the case is because it was said that I worked too much. So it's kind of like definitely messed with my mentals a lot at the time, and I ended up having to seek therapy and all that other stuff because it was just like, hey, am I doing something wrong? Like I felt like I'm doing everything right. I'm going down the right path.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was like, well, you got to nurture you got to nurture your business when it first starts. It's a baby. It's like anything else. You got to put time in and stuff like that. But then it was like, you know, getting different advice from different, professionals where they're like, well, hey, you got to have a cutoff time too. So, like, hey, 5 o'clock, 5 p.m., whether you need to give yourself an extra 30 minutes so you can do your wrap up. So, like 4:30, start wrapping up, or 4 o'clock, start wrapping up. So, 5 o'clock, you're absolutely done with business for the day.
Yeah, yeah.
And your next block time. So, if you're going to do family time from, say, 5:30 to 10 p.m., that's dedicated to family.
100%.
So no work, no recapping, no thinking about it, kind of just spend that time with family. And I was like, oh, wow, like people actually can do that. They can actually just cut it off. Like, because you're so told as you're growing a business that there's no breaks. Because if you take a break, somebody else is getting ahead of you, that competitive edge then. But we're not in an industry like that. It's such a fragmented industry that, you trying to compete with the big guys and there's smaller guys that's just doing just as well. So it definitely was eye-opening.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
I'd love to pick Greg's brain on this one. See if he does kind of the same thing or a similar thing or what. Even you, Dwight, on this. We all have weeks where we're running rampant, right? And I feel like we can forecast those weeks. We know peak season's going to be crazy. I know I'm going to be on the West Coast, East Coast, South, and North in one particular week where I'm probably not going to be home more than enough to take a shower and do some quick laundry. Um, but is that something that you, Greg, would you communicate that with the wife? Like, hey, these next 2 weeks is going to be not a shit show, but it's going to be a shit show. I'm going to be gone. I'm going to be running. I'm going to be hustling. The next 2 days, calendar's not that crazy. Let's have our dinner. Let's take our family time. Let's this. Let's that. Do you? I try my hardest to do this, but obviously I get a lot of sometimes. my 2, 3, 4 weeks are planned out, and then all of a sudden, boom, I get a wrench in there, and I've got to fly out to LA. I've got to fly down to Houston. I've got to run to Fort Lauderdale or whatever the hell it is. So I try to stick with that as much as I can. It seems like it's working. But is that something that you practice, or I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on that.
Yeah. For me, I agree. I agree with you. Like you said, you know, you got this crazy schedule or this crazy week coming up. But before that, you got a couple days where you can, you know, get it in with the wife, have, you know, spend time, date nights, you know, take the kids out or whatever the case may be. I think that's wise. Communication in relationships is major. So when I go into, and you know, whenever I used to do this all the time, I would go into these moves, and whenever I find a couple who's been married for 20 plus years, I always ask them, I say, you know, give me the 3 things that's most important to you guys that, you know, that contributed to this successful marriage. Bro, I've asked, I'm not kidding, maybe about 20 to 30, maybe more, couples about this, but hands down, the main thing has always been communication. They all have their different reasons for it, you know, but I mean, I've asked this to couples who've been married 50 plus years, and it's like communication. And so yeah, communication is important. It's for on different levels. Rather, it's like, hey, you know, baby, we got this. I got the crazy week coming up, crazy, you know, 2 weeks or whatever. Communicating that is really important, especially for my wife, right? Because that's telling her that she got to get ready, because it's going to be, because the kids act a little different when daddy's not around, right? So she has to mentally prepare for, you know, what the house is going to be like. And it gives her an opportunity to tell me what she needs from me before that comes up, before that long week or whatever that comes in. So yeah, I would, you know, to answer your question, Ryan, yeah, I would communicate that with the wife, and yeah, spend as much time with her, but you know, before that time, and also the kids. But at the same time, like I said, it's not something that you turn on because we got a long week that's coming up or a busy season that's coming up. It's something that we should be, in my opinion, we should be doing day in and day out. Like, we should live in a way with our families where how we conduct ourselves with them gives us room to for those busy times. It gives room for it, because a lot of times our spouses, bro, our wives, dang, this is turning into a different episode, right? But
Yeah,
our
I feel like I'm getting
spouses,
counseling at the moment. I love this.
I feel like oftentimes our wives just feel like they're not a part of what's going on. They're not a part of our life. They're not out there. They don't understand what's going on. They don't know nothing, right? All they know is you're gone. You know what I'm saying? It's just you're not here. And I'm dealing with all this BS here with the kids or whatever the case is, right? I think it's the same with kids, bro. Like, kids that feel like, you know, daddy was never around. They were never part of the dream, the vision. Daddy would say, yes, you were. That's why I was out there doing it. I was doing it all for you. But they were never there. They were never around. So they don't get it. It doesn't make sense to them. You know what I mean? It's not until maybe your son or your daughter get older and they start living a busy life that maybe they understand. But my point is, the more we include them just in general, right? The more it gives room, you know, it helps them to understand those busy times. I think, you know, and I guess that's a part of communication, right? You know, talking to them, bringing them around and stuff like that. So anyway, yeah, Ryan, communicate. But again, this is the way you should live, I think.
Yeah, no, that
And
makes a lot of
perception's
sense.
reality too, right? I mean, what we think we're doing versus what our kids see and think we're doing can be milestones different. So in the perception reality piece is you know, something I try to massage and smooth out quite a bit, because I know my kid knows I'm out there, you know, working my butt out to create something magical, you know, for the family, for other organizations, for other people, and whatever. But you know, showing him that he's first is has been very difficult on my end a lot of times, even though I feel like I am showing. What is his perception? You know,
Yeah.
70% of the time I feel like I'm checking that box, but 30% the big miss, right? So
Hmm. Yeah,
always
no, for
trying to get
me,
better though.
yeah, for me, I think it's more of like an implied conversation, or communication, which is bad on my part. And, you know, just hearing it from you guys and hearing it from Greg specifically is just like, geez, you know, obviously when busy season came around, it was like, in my opinion, it was like implied, hey, you know what, this the summertime, you know, I kind of informed you that, you know, it's going to be chaotic for the next 90 days or 120 days, 120 days. And, but basically having that open communication, incorporating them into the fold a little bit more, even though they don't want anything to do with the business at least in my situation, you know, but just incorporating them a little bit more into my journey or my focus, a little bit more. Just getting them right in there. Like my wife, she pretty much writes the schedule down on a fridge, and I'm like, we got Google calendars for that. But for her, it's all about seeing it, and not having to pick up her phone and be like, oh, well, let me see his calendar versus let me see my calendar, and then oh, did we sync our calendars up so that we both know what we're doing for that day or week? And so I guess, like you said, having more open communication is definitely going to be the key to having more of a successful balance with your personal life as well as, obviously if your personal life is off, your business life likely might not be as successful unless you've just been,
100%.
you know,
100%. I mean, unless you just don't care about your relationship, you're ready to lose it. Yeah, 100%. If your personal life is off, it's gonna affect your business. But you know what, too, man? No, nobody just gets this. I don't think nobody just got this dialed in, right? When it comes to relationships. So I think it's also about how we respond. You feel me? Like when we find out, when we hear that, maybe we missing a mark, how do we respond? You know what I mean? Like, but again, communication has to be key. Like, your family has to be okay and willing, and feel like they can come and talk to you, right? If something is brought to our attention that we dropping the ball in some type of way, the question then becomes how do we respond to that, right? Are we super prideful, like, oh, nah, you just don't understand, or you don't know what I go through when I'm out there, and blah 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 blah. You don't know. Is that how we respond, or is it like, damn, I didn't think about that? You know what I mean? Okay, let me try and see it from her perspective, or if it's your kids, let me try and see it from their perspective. And sometimes with your kids, they don't always tell you directly. It's more indirect. You know what I mean? They more, oh, if it's, for me, it can be my kids doing a presentation. It's like, oh, daddy, I thought you were going to be there. And it's like, oh, damn, that meant something to them. You know what I mean? And so, I want to either one, I want to respond right. So, maybe an apology, maybe do a crazy celebration, celebrate the fact, whatever, maybe the presentation you missed, take them out, celebrate it or whatever, ask them questions about it or, whatever the case may be. Make sure you don't miss the next one. So yeah, we ain't gonna get it, perfectly. Business is crazy and it's going and it pulls you left and right and it happens. But oftentimes it's also how we respond, how we respond to it. So
Mhm. That definitely makes a lot of sense. So if y'all got any questions out there, those that are watching, I know that it says mornings with movers, but hey, if your mind ain't right, none of this really exists.
yeah,
So again, if you're a mover or you're a moving owner, because it's a difference. If you're a lumper or you're one of those people, whatever the case is, even then, you're considered still a 1099 business. So at the end of the day, for you to get up, go break your back or whatever the case is, you don't want to come home to nothing or stress. So at the end of the day, if you don't get your mentals right on any of this or set block time for, hey, you know what, I'm not going to just lump all day. I'm not going to just go on the truck or I'm not going to just be in the office all day and just, focus on one task, but not focus on the home and then deal with the home when you get home. It's not gonna work.
yeah, bro. Yeah, I feel like honestly, man, and I'm sorry, Mac, Dwight, bro. For me, I'm big on self-development. I actually got more acquainted with Ryan because of, self-development. I think because Ryan, you were in 365 Unstoppable, right? Yeah,
Yes, sir.
are you still in there?
Not in the, I'm taking a slight pause. I had some medical cases that I discussed with Sean and the team there. Um, and
Okay.
I'll take this offline with you. So I've got a little bit of a break. I'm still doing the health piece. I'm still doing the journaling. I'm still getting my ass up at the crack of dawn.
Come on.
Just workout wise it's been very challenging. It's been a mass struggle. So I have a little heart piece that was going on. Everything is all good now, but a lot of it is just really scared to get back after it. Because
Okay.
it was a point in time where every time I got the heart rate up, it would go up, and then it would literally fall right back down to the 30s, and I would pass out and just be super, super scary. I haven't talked about this too much. It's something that I am going to start talking about because I feel like it's a more common piece with people. It's just something that I just haven't truly shared. Haven't shared at all, to be very clear. Besides, with Sean. Um, but yeah, so we're getting really close. I'm just like
Okay.
super. I'm still doing my push-ups. I'm doing my sit-ups. I'm doing my calisthenics. We're still getting there, but I am not actively crushing it at the gym like I was, and yeah, it's something I truly miss because it definitely helped me at least with the mindset piece every single day. Like my workouts were that was day one. It's almost like getting out of bed and making your bed that morning. Like the first task of the day is done, right? And to me, it was getting out of bed at 4:15, 4:30, being at the gym by 5. I felt like I had so much accomplished before anybody even got up every
Come on.
single day. So I'm about 30, 45 days away. I would say I'm feeling a hell of a lot better.
Let's go.
I've tested it with the travels now, like passing out airports anymore or passing out at functions and events and leaving events because I had to lay down and get my feet up. So I had to work a lot of kinks out there. But now back to that program, it is incredible. There hasn't been a more solid group of men that I'm able to share a lot of things with, experiences and what have you. So, kudos to those guys. But yeah, that's where I believe I met you, Greg, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. So I knew about you from a distance, but that, through the group, it helped me, get a little bit more acquainted with you. And then we spoke at the Titan retreat, regarding Super Move. Yeah. But yeah, Matt, just to what you were saying, I feel like, we can only get, you can only get as far in your moving company as your body can take you, as your mind can take you. The biggest thing in our way as it relates to growth, the different bottlenecks in your company that you may be going through, you can go get as much, because there's a lot of advice out there right now, right? You can get as much advice as you want, right? But if you are not personally developing, if you're not personally growing, you either one, you're gonna have a closed mindset, closed mind to all the advice you're getting. You know what I mean? Or two, it's gonna intimidate you, right? You're gonna feel like, I can never, man, I can never do that. You know what I mean? I remember if we're talking like sales, I remember our booking percentage was, average like 20 something percent for my sales guys, right? Somebody said, well, you should push for a 40% booking percentage. I'm like, that's crazy. That's impossible. Now I'm looking at like, bro, that's, we hit that like nothing. Like now it's when we hit 40%, we need to go up on our rates. I remember the first time, Tim Krupp told me to go up in my rates. I'm like, bro, I can't go up in my rates. Like I'm gonna lose customers, blah, 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 blah. And I remember he was like, he's like, bro, like stop with the limited belief, bro, blah, blah, blah. But he was speaking to a limited me, right? The 1.0 version of me. And so I can only see as far as I can see based on where I was at. You know what I mean? And so I would say self-development is key, bro. It's key. Like if you're not growing mentally, physically, health-wise, all that stuff, if you're not, I can guarantee you are not maximizing all that, you're not maximizing your opportunity in your company. You're not. Your company will only get as far as you can go. And so I would say that self-development is super important.
Definitely is. And it's just like you said, there's so much information out there. So it's just like you guys definitely want to be careful about of how much information and what information you take in, and kind of like just focus on one, like they said, focus on one area. If it's like, hey, you know what, I want to become more efficient at being running a business. So maybe you study entrepreneur mindset trainings and creating employee buy-in, stuff like that. Obviously take it with a grain of salt. Don't obviously everybody's going to have their own different view of a specific thing, but just start implementing some of that stuff into your business. And then as you start to implement that stuff into your business, you're going to realize that some of the information you're hearing is just duplicate information, and it's just repeat. So it's kind of like, oh, okay, I'm on the right path. And when I decided to pay for outside consultation, which I think I told Ryan about this weeks ago, where it was like $12,000 to get outside consultation. I was like, do I really need this? But I'm like, I've been having limited belief because I always been like, when I was running my moving company, I was always getting moving information from like Louis Mazzaro and all these other people, and they were like, "Hey, this is what you need to do from a moving perspective." And I was like, "Well, what do I need to do from a business perspective?" So I was like, you know what? Maybe I should just be open-minded to it. And then when I decided to take the consultation, it was kind of a waste of money, but I would have never known it was a waste of money because I was already ahead of my curve because I was always self-developing myself. And it was like, oh wow, you're ahead of a lot of people around your area of business. There's not much we can really kind of coach you on because you're already ahead of the curves. So it's just about, again, always self-developing, and while you're self-developing, implement that stuff into your business. Write it down, create a process. Obviously you'll maybe 2 years from now, you might have to dial back into that same process, but it's already been there. It's already there. You don't have to go looking for it again. I guess that's my 2 cents on that part.
I got a question for you, Mac. The deal you purchased that was 12 grand. Why do you say it was a waste of money?
Only because I felt like, when you pay for consultation or coaching, they would call it, you want to make sure that you find coaching that's going to take you to that next level. And because I've always aimed for perfection in anything that I did, which is his own downfall for me because obviously nothing's ever right. They were like at that level, they were like, oh, well, there's really just nothing we can really coach you on because everything we want to coach you on as far as this metric goes, or this process, or have you been coaching, or whatever the case is, it was just like, well, I've been doing all of that. Is there anything else that maybe I'm missing? Is there a missing golden nugget that I could take away from this? And I try to learn everything for the first time every time, so that I'm open-minded. So even if I know it, I'm like, hey, I don't know this. Teach me. Maybe there's a golden nugget in here.
Yeah.
And I think that's just been my biggest focus is education, education, education. Hence why I got max movement training, y'all. So if you're interested, we can get you right. But that's been my whole biggest thing is like people will skip through trainings, like they'll if it's very wordy, they'll just bypass it and try to get it completed. Whereas me, I might be skimming through it. And I'm like, okay, maybe this is actually interesting. Maybe this is something I should know. And that helps me elevate to that next level. Like people don't read terms and conditions when you sign a contract or you get a new phone. And people like, oh no, I'm not reading that. I'm skipping that. I don't need to know that. Whereas me, I'm like, hey, I want to know what's going on. And then when I'm talking to customer service, I'm like, well, you just said I couldn't really do this. And they're like, oh, they don't even know because they never read their terms and conditions.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think I was asking that question because it's rare for me now. It's rare that I pay for anything that's related to coaching that I feel like is a waste of money. It's rare. It can happen for sure, where it's like what the hell is this? Like why did I pay for this? But again, if as you grow as a person, as you personally develop, you're not really, I don't put too much stuff in other people's hands anymore. You know what I mean? And so, for example, Mac, I joined your call the other day, right? For Mac's moving training, right? Um, if the information you gave on there, if it's really applied, right? If they actually go do it, you know what I mean? And do it at a high level, not test the waters, but really go do it and just focus on that thing. And then back to what, me and Ryan was saying, don't do a whole bunch of other shit. Just do that one thing, right? And really get it dialed in. They're going to get their money out of it. You just are. A lot of information out there, it is regurgitated information. It is. We've heard a lot of it, right? But the reason why the tickets are still selling for these things because no one's doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like it don't matter because it's like you're not doing it. And even with a lot of things, right? So we learn stuff at the Titan retreat, right? You learn stuff at Sorrow. You mentioned losing. You learn all this different stuff, but it's like if you're not implementing it, it really don't matter. Which for me, again, I'm not. I'm my last time saying this, but that's why it always goes back to it's self-development first, right? If you're not, if you don't have the mindset, if you just don't have the mindset, it doesn't matter what I teach you. It doesn't matter what you learn. But just got, I wanted to ask you that question because other people on here, you have max movement training, you know what I mean? It's not a free course, nor should it be, right? So when they jump in there, they're gonna have to pay for it. I would hate for anybody to jump on there or super move or what have you and be like, oh, this is a waste of money. The question is, are you maximizing everything that's here? You know what I mean? Are you getting everything that it has to have to offer? And then going back and implementing it. There's no question that you're going to get your money worth. But if you come into it with this mindset that it's supposed to be like a genie of application, right? I join it and then it just does all the work for me. Or I look at it and I think like, oh, my buddy, got this response or got this outcome from it. Why am I not getting that outcome? Well, you probably should go ask your buddy what type of work he put in, what type of work she put in, you know what I mean, to get that outcome, right? And that's why I say, like, I don't trust, like, if I pay for something, I'm not trusting that thing is gonna, change my life. It's how I work the thing that they give me. You know what I mean? It works if you work it, and so anyway, but yeah, like you said, it can be stuff out there where it's a waste of money. I just think that it's rare. It's just most of the time it's people not implementing things.
Yeah.
Discipline and execution to me, are the two main differences of why people are successful and why they're not. We all go to these conferences, and you can go to the Andy Elliott pieces. You go and you leave there feeling like $1 million. You're going to crush the world. But guess what happens on Monday morning when you roll back into your job? You pick up those old habits. You're not disciplined. You don't execute. You don't implement. You don't do shit about it. You have that in your brain. You're like, oh, I went through the Andy Elliott course. I went to the Titan Retreat. Or I went through max moving training. I'm good. No, the hell you're not. You're not disciplined. You didn't execute a damn thing. And you clearly don't. And change management's difficult too, because it's easier said than done, right? Like, what is execution? How do you execute? How do you implement? Like, there's processes along with that as well. So, to me, the main difference between, some people spinning their wheels and others that are basically leaving everybody behind. Number one piece for me is discipline. If you're not disciplined, you ain't going anywhere. If you got discipline, now you can execute. Typically, if you're disciplined, you can execute, right? If you weren't, you wouldn't be disciplined. So those are two pieces that I try to focus on every day. I try to be super, super disciplined, and I try to pick the tasks and I execute every single day.
Yeah.
Some days not as good as others. Let's be very clear on that. Right? But I have, I don't know what saying is. I used to strive for perfection with everything I did. But being perfect is pretty damn hard to do, right? I mean, find me anybody that's perfect. So in my mind, if I can get everything 80% correct 100% of the time, about as damn near as perfect as I'm going to get. And that's with everything. That's if I was back in the industry, that's quoting, that's surveying, it's whatever. If I'm 80% correct 100% of the time, you're going to go someplace.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just remember, it's 80% of the work that you do is only producing 20% of the output. So just make sure that you know that whatever you're doing it's not just everything, because everything is not gonna be, important. So you're like, oh well, hey, I gotta do this. Oh, hey, I gotta do that. I gotta create this process so that sales can make sure that they're booking the jobs right. I gotta, create scripts. I gotta, watch their phone calls, so that they're being efficient. Yes, some of that stuff is very important, but it's only producing X amount of results. So just be mindful of that when you guys are out there and you're thinking that you have to have a full day worth of work. Otherwise, your company is not going anywhere. But hey, so we are at the top of the hour. Gregory Gray was obviously spitting some gems today, y'all. So thank you, Greg, for joining us. Anything you wanted to say before we take off?
Nah, man, I'm good, Mac. I appreciate you, bro. I appreciate you for having me on here and everything you're doing, all the value you offer to the moving industry. And yeah, man, just 2025, bro. This is a year for everybody, man. It's time to turn it up, crush the market or crush your market. And yeah, if anybody want to reach out to me for anything, I'm accessible, man. I'm an open book. I'm here.
All right. And Ryan, I know anything from you.
I'm about 15 minutes late for boarding, so speaking of taking off, fellas, I do have to literally take off here and get back up to good old upstate New York here. But I appreciate everything you're doing for the industry. Dwight, Greg, always a pleasure to hear you speak and to listen to your journey, man. It's you're a breath of fresh air to listen to. You're looking good, man. Keep everything up. I mean, your transition from the time I met you, what, a year ago at the Titan Retreat to now, man. I see you on socials. I see you on Facebook. Fucking looking good, man. I want that to sound in a weird way. Great job, man. You can tell
Appreciate
that
it, Jen.
you're disciplined and all the great attitude, putting with all the efforts you possibly can. So 6 kids, man, that's a hell of a whole basketball team there.
Mm-hmm.
Straight up. Appreciate you,
Man.
brother.
All right,
Hey,
y'all. So
we'll see
definitely,
y'all.
all right, definitely like, comment, and subscribe down below. Keep crushing it out there, and we'll see y'all next week, y'all. Take care.